Daddy, you've been sat at that computer for so long, just drinking and giggling.
I can smell an old wooden ship.
The arsonist has oddly shaped feet.
Did the rabbit on the front of this Nesquik packet carbonically macerate the strawberries that are in this powder?
To another episode of the Neutral Cider Hotel podcast. I am your host, Gabe Cook, also known as that guy that doesn't know how to plug in his microphone. Sorry, producer Scott. Sorry. Love you.
It's definitely plugged in today.
Love you. You're plugged in. Can you hear me? Tip of the tongue, teeth in the lips. Anyway, coming up a little bit later on the show, we'll be speaking to drinks writer Rachel Hendry, getting her take on the world of cider and quite probably a bit of beer and wine too. Ooh. We'll also be doing an in-depth tasting of Templa's Choice Dry Cider. But first, well, do you know what? I'm actually feeling a little bit chipper, quite happy this week because I got to go somewhere really quite special. Dare I say, it might be my favourite place on planet Earth, and I've been very fortunate to travel around quite a lot. I've been to the sod flats of Bolivia and to the mountains in New Zealand and
all the mountains
of Ethiopia, whatever. But none of them. Just
was that whatever specific to Ethiopian mountains?
No. The whatever is specific to the fact that the thing that all of those places have in common, the common denominator, is that they are not the mighty village of Dimmock in Gloucestershire, my home village. Born, brought up, Ciderology HQ, it's a wonderful place. If you haven't been, ladies and gentlemen, do go. You're very welcome to send me an email or a message, as to like the top things to do in this fantastic village.
Top one, leave.
And drive to Scotland.
I mean, to be fair, it's such a small village that you will leave quite quickly because there isn't a huge amount there. So the reason why I was in Dimmock and why things were so exciting, other than just being there, is because at this time of year, it is famous for a profusion of wild daffodils. Narcissus, pseudo-narcissus, is the wild daffodil of the UK, and in the old orchards and meadows and woodlands and hedgerows during May, there is this wonderful carpet. They used to be picked once upon a time and taken down to London for markets and sent off to churches and cathedrals and to children's hospitals. A joyous thing. Alas, they are much less in number these days, but so important, I think, that they are. I wrote to Country File, which anybody in the UK will know is a BBC TV programme that centres on wonderful rural matters. And we went and we filmed these daffodils in the sunshine, everyone. It was absolutely...
The crowd cheers. Oh.
There you go.
Dimmock! Fucking Dimmock!
So these daffodils were mostly drooping ever so slightly, which is the reason why they get their name. Narcissus was this Greek figure who spent so long staring into a puddle on the ground and being so enamored with his own reflection that he died, I think. The daffodils have a slight drooping habit and look towards the ground, hence the Narcissus. But I think it's a bit unfair because they're such bright, vibrant and jolly little things.
But they're actually quite sad. Sounds like they're quite sad.
The sad clown. Oh, that was from The Sopranos, wasn't it?
Wouldn't you be if you were stuck in fucking Dimmock?
Hey, I will not have a
Gabe's
bad
back
word.
again.
Yeah,
Gabe's back again. He's brought a film crew with him this year.
It was quite amusing standing in the centre of the village, which is very small. And that just standing there for like 10 minutes, that somebody went on a bike and went, all right, Gabe, as sort of just cycling past. And I was like, oh, all right. And somebody else stopped who I haven't seen from secondary school like 25 years ago. It was like, all right, Gabe. It's like, yeah, amazing.
Lovely.
The hometown.
I like the idea of you being there like David Brent, like, oh, the old stomping ground. Oh, here he is.
I know.
You're like, Gary?
He knows me.
Yeah,
he knows me.
Oh, Narcissus with his mustache. Oh, obviously. That's me.
A book full of signed books.
Let's not cut too close to the bone if we can. Let's keep it light. Keep it jovial. I've still got 2,000 copies of Siderology to sell. There is always a handful in the boot of the car. So for anybody in the UK, this is going to be out on the BBC on Easter Sunday. Because is there anything better than Sunday roast and then watching me on the telly? Gosh, that sounds terrible, doesn't it? Jeez. Okay, maybe. Yeah, maybe. Well, at your discretion, let's say. So Easter Sunday, BBC One, about 5 or 6 o'clock. I can't remember exactly what time. So there we go. A bit of a gratuitous plug for me and for Dimmock. But that's pretty much what my life is all about. So there we go, guys. How was your week?
Good. I gotta say, I know we've just ribbed you. I love that you have such a honest, earnest connection to your hometown. It's just. I just can't imagine that for me. So I live vicariously through your weird half anecdote. Just see you loving. But I've been good. I went to Little Pomona and we've done a blend that will be coming out later in the year. But it's all packaged and it's just hibernating, getting where it's going to go. I guess I don't know what else to say.
It's getting where it's gonna go. Do you have a name? Not that you need to reveal it now, but have you?
Well, James came up with a name, and yeah, I think that is the name. As much as I went,
is that how it works at Little Pomona?
Oh, I see. Yeah,
pretty much a dictatorship. Yeah.
Do you want to blend this cider I've already named?
No, pick these 2 barrels. That's the. Yeah. Why is it called Art of Darkness? No, we did actually. So we did a blend for this, and as part of the blending process for Art of Darkness 2019, it would have been then. Yeah. If that's the harvest, 2020. I can't remember the date. Sorry, guys, but I did joke that
out just now.
Yes, so it will be 19. But I joked that it's going to be called Mart of Darkness. So
that's good.
I'm going to handwrite on every label. Mart of Darkness.
Have you seen the artwork yet?
The Mart work?
The Mart work.
Beat me to it. You beat me to it.
Say.
Yes. I beat the punologist. Look at that. Oh, I am on fire.
But yes, he's sending it off. He's got an idea for what he wants for the label. I won't give away the name, but I will say that I think James thinks he'll get sued if he uses the name he wants to. So he's going to allude to the name with a drawing and then have a name that isn't really a name, similar to the orange cider not being named. I think that's what he said, but I might have just been not listening. And yet, no confirmed date on the release yet. And I'm sure I will be bringing it up again as soon as it is available.
Bravo. Looking forward to it. Yum, yum, yum. Grant, my friend, what's been happening with you?
So the H key on my keyboard, is temperamental right now. And it's extremely annoying.
You've been messaging Rachel Hendry.
Yeah. Well, that's it. So I sound like every email, I'm like a Cockney. So I'm like, how you doing? And like my price list is attached there. And I have to go back through all my emails and be like, have I missed one? There's one, yeah. And it's doing my head in, but I can't. It's a sad day to say it, but I can't really be a day without my laptop. So I'm trying to figure out a way of self-repairing. So if anyone out there
can help, hit us up. It's Grant Atchison at hotmail.com.
Oh, imagine that. Yeah. So no, I've looked up various ways of trying to fix it. Which
Is a hammer one of them?
Yeah. An hammer. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. My bad.
No, it's just, it's I feel like it's probably the most annoying letter that you don't realize how much you use it. It's like when you burn your hand or hurt your hand somehow, you don't realize how many times you put it in your pocket, and it hurts. It's like that's my H key. So yeah,
your hand is your your hand is your H key.
My hand is my H key.
My hand hurts.
So yeah, so that's my that's Rant Hutchison for this.
That's
week.
Rant Hutchison.
This week's Rant Hutchison.
This week with Rant Hutchison.
This week with Rant Hutchison.
You do know your own surname, don't you, Grant?
Not without the H's, I don't.
This is completely dumbfounding because you lose the first letter.
No, there's another one in there.
Uffington.
There's another one in there.
Oh, we have. Oh, yeah. Okay, I take it back. That's right.
Come on, Hutchison.
Not two.
Well, there we go. That's a wrap on the first segment of the show. Now, let's jump onto our favourite search engine. Bing. And let's see what's happening.
Bing. No! Don't even, no! Not even as a joke. No, I'm not entertaining that. Change that. Ask Jeeves now.
Yahoo?
Yeah! Let's go ask Yahoo.
Let's go ask Yahoo and let's see what is happening in the news. Okay, everybody, now it is time here at the Neutral Cider Hotel for the news. And this week, well, it's kind of dominated by a piece of news that's come out of the USA, and it pertains to the Vermont Ard Cider Company, whose premier brand is Woodchuck, because a company that was bought in 2012 by C&C, which in the UK is the owner of Magners Cider and Bulmer Cider if you're in Ireland, and Tennant's Beer too. They decided to invest into the burgeoning US scene at 2012, and it was really starting to kick off. A wise thing to go for Woodchuck, which was the USA's biggest brand, and they bought the company for $305 million. And here we are, not even 10 years later, and they've just sold it for $20 million. That's a loss of $285 million.
Bloody hell.
Wowzers. Talk about how to balls up your entry into the world's third largest market, the fastest growing cider category on the planet, the most exciting and dynamic place, and you buy the biggest and you turn it into, today it's the 10th largest. I mean, like, it's really impressive to go in reverse. So ooh, that is harsh, my friend. That is harsh.
How I don't understand how that's even possible.
Is investment that hit and miss where, like, you can genuinely, like, I don't know how you can back hard cider and not go with a smaller one and build it until it's the top. Do you know what I mean? Like, it just seems so odd to me.
But even then, they like overpaid for Woodchuck at the time. So it's like yeah, I just don't know how they could not make it anything from a brand that's already doing particularly well. I know that Angry Orchard came in, right? You know, that's a big factor in Woodchuck's decline.
Yeah.
You know, also backed by a fairly large brewer, right? Sam Adams.
Yeah, Boston Beer Company. Yeah, Boston Beer Company's big, but similar kind of in scale and attitude to C&C. I'm not quite sure what they did wrong here. They didn't quite invest. Maybe it was the wrong brand, as you said, sort of, Martin, because there was such dynamism. Actually, it was some of these smaller independents, the Aces, the Californian Cider Company, the likes of Two Towns and Citizen Cider and sort of stuff like this. Actually, there was huge kind of growth, but they've actually seen total volume decline over that time. There is actually a link back in to Bulmers in the Shire, because actually Bulmers bought this company back in the 90s, the woodchuck, and then sold it in 2003 when they were going through their own sort of financial difficulties, almost as a result of trying to expand into a global marketplace when it was too soon. And there's one neat little story of one of the execs for sort of Bulmer's America at the time, a guy called Brett Williams. He remortgaged his house and he reached out to old college buddies to loan some money, managed to raise 1.8 million, and he bought the company back, which he then subsequently sold for $305 million.
What?
That, my friend, is an entrepreneur, if ever you heard one.
That's the kind of thing, like looking at the market. I mean, obviously we've been looking at the market for a few years now in our own ways. But I remember like looking at when I was starting on cider and thinking like, made wine in the UK is going to be where it's at for like the people that like craft beer and that innovation. That's what it's going to take in cider, I guess, or that crossover. And I can't imagine at that time being like, oh, well, actually, it's going to be with one big brand and they're going to get bigger. You're like, every other drinks market has gone small and grown. I don't know why you would aim first. Like, I know we said it before, but it's like, if you lead the pack, get arrows in your back kind of thing. Like, don't go for the guy that could lose it all. Go for the small guy where it costs nothing.
Yeah,
that's why I think there's got to be some reason for it, right? It's not just they're not that stupid, C&C, right? I mean, that loose with money.
C&C seemed to, whatever the opposite of the Midas touch is, the shit touch, possibly, it is possibly called, In
touch.
Well, yeah. They, yes, they had great success with Magners, absolutely brilliant in terms of what they did, in terms of, introducing this concept over ice and youthful and fun and contemporary. But then they allowed the volume to drop and they invested and they bought into those amazing Somerset cider brands, which in the UK, things like Blackthorn especially had a huge regional significance in the Southwest. It is essentially gone. It's disappeared. They own their brand, but they don't do anything with it. They shut down the cider making operation in Shepton Mallet, etc. There are decisions which just don't seem to make sense, and it's a shame because there's such great heritage and there's still some great brands, and there are these are ciders that people will drink if they are given the opportunity to do so.
I remember with Chuck when we would first tour the US as like the only cider that was readily available, and also not something that was incredibly sweet or flavored or anything like that. It was like I'm sure they had like a Granny Smith or something. Like they had like apple, varieties or an original, and like it wasn't this sort of gimmicky big brand. Obviously it was made on such a scale that it probably was from almost definitely from concentrate or chaptalized or something. But I remember it being a fairly decent cider that was available everywhere.
I think it had to do with the fact that there just wasn't competition at the time. I mean,
yeah, I guess so.
On a national level, right? Like what you guys were talking about, there's a lot of smaller makers and smaller markets that were making stuff, but there was nowhere where you could get a cider, or there wasn't other ciders where you could get one in Boston and California and other cities and states. And that was the one. And that's where cider started. So I understand the idea that, hey, let's get the biggest, most dominant cider maker in there. Is 300 million in the world of selling and buying cider companies on the highest end there, Gabe? Or
12 pounds is the highest I've seen.
Yeah. No. I think that Taunton cider was sold for 250 million in the mid 90s. And that was way overpriced. Bulmer's was sold for about 286 or something million in about 2003. So it's up there with the most expensive sort of cider purchases anywhere, pretty much.
Feels like maybe the competition and also maybe not understanding the U.S. market. I don't know. I mean, it's a challenging market.
With the stateside ciders, Scott, in places where they do have it on tap, what are the ciders that you see there? Back in the day it was woodchuck, but these days when you go into bars and you see it on tap, it's the local stuff. So, when I go to
bar and grills or bars here, if they have it, it's usually a San Diego brand here in town, and elsewhere they usually just get the local. So the locals have kind of moved into the bar scenes and taken those tap lines. But I think competition and the difficulty of the U.S. market is probably what did them. And it didn't seem like, I mean, from the perspective of a cider drinker in the U.S., it didn't seem like Woodchuck did anything. To your point earlier, Gabe, they just kind of stayed there while all this new competition, all these new flavors, all this other stuff was happening. They just kind of did the same thing over and over and didn't innovate, didn't try new things. And so I think the market just overwhelmed it.
Geez, thanks to our USA analytical inside cider reporter, Scott Riggs there. Thank you, Scott.
No, back to the studio.
Yes.
Back to the studio.
Back to the studio.
Oh, God.
Well, yeah, nothing else to add. He's absolutely nailed it. There we go. A little bit. Someone's either got a bargain or someone spent too much or a little bit of both. Somebody's probably made some money and it's not me. But there we go. Not that I'm bitter. It's all good. That just about wraps up the news for this week. Coming up next, our chat with writer Rachel Hendry. It's time for this week's interview. Grant, please welcome our guest onto the show.
Thank you, Gabe. This week's guest comes at cider from a wine background, publishing her own newsletter on the subject called J'adore le Plonk, which she uses to share her thoughts on aging wine, the origins of wine additives, and most recently, cow's taste buds. Also, one of the co-founders of Burum Collective, an inclusive organisation formed to promote diversity and togetherness in the drinks industry and beyond, through thoughtful written pieces and a planned educational programme coming soon. Checking into the Neutral Beer Hotel, it's self-described wine unprofessional Rachel Hendry.
Hey!
Thank you for having me.
How's it going?
Yeah, good, thanks. How are you all?
All right, yeah.
I think we're all pretty good. We're all pretty excited about trying a beer on a
Yeah.
cider podcast anyway.
I know.
Well, sorry. Can I
Oh yeah.
can I just come in straight off the bat? Horse of knowledge here. Beer, Rachel. It's not a term that we really know here at the Neutral Cider Hotel. Would you be able to help us out here a little bit?
Well, I'm a wine writer, so I feel like you probably got the wrong person on to discuss this. I don't know who's planned this, but they've done it.
Didn't get the memo.
Wrong.
I'll have a word with the horse, and we'll see if we can find some more appropriate. Well, welcome to the hotel.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
How's tricks?
Yeah, just in lockdown by myself. Things are, as wild as they can be, I guess.
I don't know. I mean, you're I did a touch of research. You're quite a busy woman by the looks of it, because you're an orthodontist in Dumfries. You're a tax supervisor in Glasgow. You're a yoga instructor in Yorkshire, and you're also the marketing director for Zizi, based out of London. So they're doing a whole heap of different things right now. It's
Did you Google me? That's such old school research.
I think he binged you, actually. Yes. www.bing. Rachel.
Gabe prefers Bing, right? Yeah.
Bing is my preferred the search of choice.
I've told him off.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, sorry about that. Sorry.
Well, anyway, let's talk about wine then. Instead, let's talk about your latest newsletter.
I'm really sorry. I'm in one of those moods. Obviously, the horse would like to know what is wine. That's definitely something that we haven't had here at the Neutral Cider Hotel before.
Do you know what? I messaged Martin this morning and I was like, what my plan is, I'm going to go in, I'm going to use like the smallest, least technical words I can. So at no point do I get the horse of knowledge, because I don't think I could handle that. And I've had it twice within the first 2 minutes. So I'm out. I think I can't.
Oh, I wonder if that had anything to do with that message.
As you can tell by Martin's giggling, he might have stitched you up there.
Oh, in my head, I am like playing it really cool poker face. So Jesus
Poker
Christ.
face, Martin.
Yeah, this is my element of playing it cool.
You know what that phrase means, right? Anyway, J'adore le Plonk. I absolutely love J'adore le Plonk. It's my favorite, favorite newsletter to read. tell us about the latest edition that you sent out, which I'm gonna find the wine and cows. I mean,
Yes.
that's a great subject to get in your email inbox. Tell us a little bit about it.
Cool. Yeah, I'm glad that I named it now that we're talking about it out loud. I'm a professional drinks writer, everybody. It was kind of, I think, I wanted to explore, I guess, what tasting is on a kind of more personal, emotive level. I get very precious about my tasting notes. They're very personal to me. And I think I kind of wanted to look at, and I guess, why that is and why, they are they do mean so much to me, I guess, and why I guess I get protective over them. So it was a really, and I've had quite a lot of conversations recently about the subjectivity of tasting and how it is based on, your personal experiences, and your palate is very personalized. And so, yeah, I kind of wanted to explore that and I guess talk about it in a way that I get so many people talking to me and going, I feel like I taste wrong and I taste wine wrong and I don't do it properly. And I'm like, no, there is no wrong or right way. It's just what you feel and what you get. And as long as you are honest about that, then that's how you taste, really, isn't it?
Do you find that people, when I'm assuming you're like me with cider, where I'm showing people that, well, literally, I don't actually know much about this. Do you feel that they're a bit coy and they might taste things, but they're actually being like, I don't want to look stupid?
Yeah, 100%. I think I'm exactly the same. Like when I'm in a room, I kind of always hold back sometimes because I'm like, I don't want to be the one that's laughed at or mocked or say the wrong thing. And I say oh, I get this. And everyone's like, that's very way off, Rachel. But so I think and I drink, when I drink and taste with people, there's always sometimes a hesitancy of I think maybe I'm not sure, it kind of this, and then I say something and I'll go, oh yeah, no, it was, I got that, it was that. So it's I guess talking about it in a way that can build people's confidence to just go, hey, it's
Definitely.
not an exam. There's no right or wrong. It's just what you feel and what you think. And yeah.
We've had it definitely on the show where there's been some ciders where, and we can name every citrus in the world, but you're smelling a glass and you're like, I cannot fucking name it. And then Gabe would go oh, passion fruit. And you're like, fucking yes, that is exactly it. But then in my head, I'm like, don't go too hard because it looks like you just have gone I have no idea what I'm doing. Yes, Gabe, I had that too.
I was smelling Brussels sprouts, Gabe, but yeah.
Admittedly, my jacket potato that I was like, no one's joining in with me on this one.
That potato wasn't
was
miles off, was it?
For me, it was this is a jacket potato out of the oven. I don't know how else to say this. So, we've all got the first beer on the Neutral Cider Hotel.
Hey!
Yeah.
Rachel, tell us what we're doing, what we're drinking.
You are drinking a Best Bitter. Helen sent me a whole tech sheet before this, which I've not remembered.
Excellent.
So let's just see what I remember. So yeah, we're drinking Burum's first collab beer, which is super exciting. So yes, so I've had very little to do with this, so really honoured to be given the chance to talk about it. But I turned up to some meetings. But yeah, so Helen kind of went away, and we both really liked amber ales, and that was the kind of style that especially Helen wanted to focus on. And we did, well, I say we, Helen, the royal we. Helen did some research. I'm going to take a lot of credit for work that's not mine today.
Do it.
Helen's not here. So.
They're not here. I can do what I want.
Yeah,
I brewed
absolutely.
this beer. No. So I think, yes. And then Hal's kind of did a lot of research about the history of pubs and beers and styles. And that's kind of when they settled on the idea of a Best Bitter, because we kind of wanted to use it as a conversation starter as well. So when, Best Bitters were kind of really becoming popular and being drunk in pubs, that was around the 19th century. And the only people that were predominantly allowed in pubs at that point were white, were male, were straight. And that's been the case for quite a long time. And it's only really like upwards of 40 years ago that the laws around that have changed. So I think we kind of wanted to have a beer that was really tasty. And so I think like, you know, Hell's has done such a fantastic job. It's super fruity. I know they've upped the carbonation on it slightly than you would have in a more traditional style, just to make it a bit more of a spring seasonal best bitter, ? I'm sure I can.
They're just at home listening going, no.
You get so many WhatsApps. But also, I kind of guess reinvent the best bitter and kind of distribute's probably the wrong word, but kind of make a beer for a best bitter with the people in mind that wouldn't always traditionally have been able to access them and to drink them in pubs.
Well, the think differently approach of having hops from the other side of the world to a traditionally British style, it marries really well. Like the fruit character there, on top of that kind of caramel classic like malt backbone, just like lovely, fresh. And I mean, you've said it's like a lovely, gentle, easily accessible like amber, like hoppy red. It's lovely. It's really easy.
In terms of cider, are there any particular kind of like characters, flavor characters, or things that you're encompassing and discovering as you drink your way through the entirety of the UK's cider collection? Any sort of particular flavors or characters or things that are really sort of coming through that were unexpected, possibly?
Something that I'm really enjoying in terms of, I guess, styles is I'm trying to drink a lot of sparkling ciders at the moment, and I'm having lots of discussions about them. And what I'm finding really interesting to me is looking at how the styles that I've associated with wine, so I guess pet nat, bottle conditioned, traditional method, all those kind of things, how they change in relation to the fruit they're being used on as well. Like I kind of went in maybe quite naively, and I've drunk quite a few things where I've kind of gone, oh, well, I know what they're going to taste like because of the words that's this. So it says pet nat, it says champagne method. I automatically go, it's going to taste this, this, and this. And then I drink it and it's a cider and it doesn't. And I think that's so useful for my brain to kind of take me out of that like almost arrogance of, I know what this is going to taste like. But, and really interesting as well to kind of look at how that differentiates across fruits as well as like regions and styles and that kind of thing.
Do you think all this time away from pubs and is an opportunity when we can go back to pubs to do it differently? Do you think anyone's going to have that approach? Or, you know, just some of the things that have happened specifically in the past month or so that might shift some people's viewpoint on spaces and male spaces and how to conduct yourself in society. You know, is it? Surely something's got to change. Do you feel like this might be an opportunity for that to happen?
It's a big question, and it's something I think about quite a lot because, yes, something does need to change, but I do think, unfortunately, that because of the position hospitality have been put in over the last year, priorities when people are reopening are not necessarily, I don't think, going to be for other people as opposed to the business itself, if that makes sense, because people... businesses are really struggling and it hasn't been a great year to be working in hospitality, which I can vouch for. So I think that things do need to change and I really hope they will. I think that with the immediate reopening, I think priorities are perhaps going to be different because I think that businesses will just be focused on getting up and running and handling the public again. But I do think that, things do need to change. And I think that's the conversation that we want to have and things that I want to start see happening. But yeah, pubs are only as safe as their most vulnerable customer. And at the moment, yeah, there's just a lot that needs to be done, and I think it will happen. But I just think that with everything that's going on, it's probably going to take, unfortunately, a little bit longer than we'd like. But that's,
Well, there's so many behavior modifiers that seem simple once you've had it pointed out to you, but I know a lot of people might not register it like that. And one is myself. When we were talking about the spitooning in the last episode, I got a message off of Adam today, formerly from Malt Review, but he was saying about spittoons actually being like kind of a blessing if you're at all struggling with alcohol and you're in the alcohol industry, or as a woman, and just different things that in my head I was like, oh no, well I taste like this, and if I'm tasting it, that's that. And then you're just like, if that's the difference between making it a safe space for someone or not, that's just like like the privilege in my head that didn't even come to mind is shocking in itself. Is there anything like that in the industry where you're just like with spittoons, like what's your opinion on them?
I think it's and the spittoon thing is a really good example, and I'm really glad that we had that conversation today, and I spoke to Adam today as well, because I think it's that behavior that, not necessarily behavior, but the way that you drink, that obviously to you there's not a problem with that, because you're perfectly safe to drink as much as you want in whatever space you want, and you'll be, and regardless of maybe some embarrassment, like you're absolutely fine. Whereas I can't afford to drink to the point of memory loss in public spaces, especially ones that are spaces for work as well. And that's the thing, is that for spaces that are, I guess, tastings and wine fairs, like there's a difference to that of a pub, because it's not a social situation that I've chosen to do, that I don't have to do. It's a necessity for my job and my work. And I never feel comfortable going to tastings, but I'm also not going to not go to them, because they are a good opportunity to try and taste lots of things. So I think it's just that. So for some people, they wouldn't have any second thoughts about, just drinking every sample and, the effects of that wearing on as the day progresses. For myself, I go to tastings, I go as early as I can. I use a spittoon, and I leave before, I guess, the effects hit those that haven't later on in the day. And it's just that, and I think that's a really good example of something that to one person is harmless for their immediate self, but it's that consideration of how that affects other people and how that behavior would maybe come across to other people. And I think that it's that kind of little thing that I would like to see more thought go into. It is those things that to some people they go, oh, well, this is absolutely fine. But then to others, it's I can't, that's not something that I would personally feel comfortable to do.
Well, the thing is with those, like you're saying, if it's a shared space, there's a shared responsibility. And if there's anything you can do to kind of mitigate any problem, I'm all for it. There's no reason not to. But to change it to a nice, cheery conversation, because we can talk about the woes of alcohol and its dangers forever, really. But what's beautiful is that we've all gravitated towards these drinks because we fucking love them.
Rachel, I was gonna ask you a question about cider and food matching, because obviously, as well as J'adore Plonk, co-founder and major contributor to Burum, you do a lot of articles in there, and he did one about food matching, and your one with cider was called Crempog. Now, for those of us who've never heard of Crempog, what is Crempog, and how did you go about matching with it?
So Crempog is a Welsh pancake. Nice. So yeah, the piece I matched Welsh drinks with traditional Welsh foods, which was lots of fun. And I wanted to do, I kind of was like, well, maybe I should do Welsh cake. And then in my research, I came across this thing called a Crempog, and I was like, class, this is going in.
Class.
It's just such a good name. So yeah, it's traditional, one of the most traditional Welsh foods you can get. I think there's super, as one of the oldest, if not the oldest Welsh recipe. Maybe I'm making stuff up now.
No, go for it. Go for it. That's what I do.
We do it all the
time. Claim it, and just wait for someone to shoot you down. But it doesn't happen, so it's fine.
Yeah, the first ever recipe that was ever made in Wales was but it's very old. And it's called a crampog, which I just think is fun and it sounds very cute. And I think in my research I was looking. There's a lot of ciders in Normandy are paired with pancakes. That's the traditional pairing, which I really liked and I thought was really cool. So I was like, I'm going to just do that, but in Wales. So yeah, my process isn't as sophisticated as I like. I just steal things from France and make it sound better. But
you nailed the brief, my friend. Nailed the brief.
But yeah, and I think that like Skybury in Wales do really lovely like keeved, fruity, sweet ciders that I think would go well with a crampog. Were you ever having one?
The year ahead, we're starting to open up, etc. What other exciting things are you personally or Burum Collective or J'adore Plonk going to be get involved with? Is there going to be any opportunity for a Burum collaborative cider coming out at all? Not, maybe just sowing the seed.
We would love that. So if anyone's listening or wants to do that with us, I accept on Helen's behalf. That'd be great. No, I think so. Helen's coming back from Manchester this week, which is really exciting.
Cool.
So we're going to have a meeting and kind of plan what the rest of the year for Burum looks like. But we've got some cool educational stuff coming out soon. Have we not, Gabe?
I believe so.
Ding, 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 ding.
Ding, yeah, all the dings. Educational dings. I'm going to be producing a little bit of content around approaches to tasting of cider, which is going to be awesome. So I'm looking forward to getting into that.
So that's why you asked that. That's why that was your last question.
Anything you've got coming up? Me.
Coming up.
Fucking narcissistic.
Begins with C, ends in ology. I don't know.
Criminology, that's right. Criminology. It's my new industry.
How did you get that?
Oh dear. We were talking Rachel talking earlier on about Dimmock, obviously, which is the lovely village that I'm from, and it's got these wild daffodils.
How are you crowbarring Dimmock?
Hang on, because the Latin, the name is Narcissus pseudo-Narcissus, and you're talking about me being narcissistic, or Martin was, and always coming back to me. Well, I'm just influenced by the daffodils. Let's wrap things up here. That was great. Okay,
that thread
Rachel.
was wafer thin. Come on,
It's all a wafer thin.
Rachel, for anybody who wants to learn more about J'adore Plonk or about Burum Collective, where are the various sort of websites and social media handles they should head to?
Excellent. Very much regretting my personal social media handle right now. So.
Yeah, J'adore Plonk, the one that's hard to spell. Anyway, give us Burum, but yeah, no.
I tell you what, I'll tell you about Burum, and you'll just find me along the way. That seems to be the case with most things. So, Burum Collective is burumcollective.com. We've just had a refresh of the website, so if you want to visit that and tell us that it looks great, that would be lovely. And then the same on Twitter and Instagram. We also have a Facebook group as well, which is like a fun little network space. If you would like to join that, you're more than welcome to. The more the merrier. That'd be lovely. So yeah, I think head towards Burum, and then at some point I'll be chatting around those platforms, so you can find J'adore Plonk through there. Because yeah, the more I have to talk about it out loud, the more I regret calling it that. But that's fine.
Rachel, thank you so much for joining us here. I hope you've had some fun, and we certainly have. And this is a great beer. And please keep doing everything that you're doing. You're a fantastic and quite singularly unique voice within our compound booze world. So keep doing your thing. We'll keep reading, and let's looking forward to drinking in person at some stage in the not too distant future. Cheers.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Cheers, Bob.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Big thanks to Rachel there from the Burum Collective, and for everybody, just to make sure that phonetically we're all sorted here. That's Burum, Burum Collective.com. That's a website. You can read all of the fantastic articles and all of the work that they are doing there. But now we are tasting some cider, of course, and we are going to the other side of La Manche this week, to the Pays d'Auge in Normandy. I know, for a tasting of the Templa's Choice Dry Cider. Here we go. Now, it's been a while since I tasted an iteration of vintage, I suppose, of this cider. And I think this is the first time for you chaps. But most importantly, let's all pay attention to see whether Grant explodes the cider
ready?
Everywhere.
I do have a bucket by my side tonight.
Very wise. Let's try.
So full exposure, full disclosure. I had to give Hannah some downstairs. Fucking hell. I had to give Hannah some downstairs, so mine was open about 2 minutes ago, but the lid did pop off nicely, but nothing spilt.
Yep, same here.
That was good. Very good. No spillage. Here we go. Now,
I'll tell you what the aroma I got first was, but I just got CO2. That is some lively stuff. Gabe, what's breathing life into this? Tell us about the cider.
Oh, yeah.
here we go. So whilst you guys get your noses into it, Templa's Choice. This is Adam and Anne Bland. Adam Bland he comes from a bit of a sort of cider making dynasty in South Gloucestershire. His father Vernon Bland was a cider maker in Oldbury on Severn, and Frampton on Severn, which is not too far north of Bristol. And eventually, Bulmers bought Frampton on Severn cider, and so Adam really sort of had an opportunity to learn cider making from a young age, and he and his wife bought this farm, La Femme de Noyères, in the Pays d'Auge, which is sort of heartland or sort of classic Normandy cider making region, in 1991, and they've been making classic traditional styles of cidre from that region ever since. Employing a keeving methodology, and we definitely need a horse of knowledge right about there. We do it quite frequently with keeving. I think that you can probably never have too many horses of knowledge when it comes to keeving.
To any of the Def Cab for Cutie fans that are sticking around, here's the first time you would have heard keeving explained.
Oh, yeah, that's...
Go on, Gabe.
Welcome. So keeving is a particular methodology that has become really closely associated with cider making in Normandy and Brittany in northern France, and a few exponents in the UK as well, whereby you, in your juice, you try and extract the pectin from the juice, and it binds onto yeast and nutrient, and it rises to the top to form a big crusty brown cow pat, which is called le chapeau brun, the brown hat. And you take away the juice underneath, which is brilliantly clear and yeast and nutrient efficient, and you ferment it. And then what you can do is, with some skill, is place it into a bottle, a punted bottle, as we've got here, and put a cork and wire on the top, and it will continue a little bit of its fermentation in the bottle, but still retain some residual sweetness. And exactly when you put the cider into the bottle, at what point, and with sort of how much yeast left, means that you get something either really sweet, and Templa's Choice do a range of different styles and interpretations. But I've gone for the slightly drier interpretation. So, guys, what do you think? I haven't had a sniff yet, so you tell me what you've got so far.
It's got that little bit leathery, clovey, savoury note on there. Classic banter. I realised I said it like that.
Classic bands.
Classic. Here he is. Oh, unreal. But yeah, it's got that kind of savoury note. And when I was tasting it, it sounds odd, but it's kind of like, I don't know how else to explain this other than like there's like a bit of bass missing. It's like, yeah, it's quite light and high, and that dryness is just like, there's no like big bold tannin or anything like that for me. It's just got this lovely little kind of savory light character to it. And the carbonation is just throwing everything out of the glass. Like, it's big on the nose from just how many bubbles are hitting my bloody face.
Yeah, it does have that little bit of caramel on the nose and a little bit of kind of like slate or something, sort of minerally. It doesn't smell much like a Kiev cider I would expect. It doesn't have that big apple flesh and vanilla and that you would normally expect. It's quite lean.
I'm gonna say that that's probably largely down to the fact that this is the drier interpretation, and so there isn't so much of the sugar left behind. It's 5.5% alcohol. It's probably likely that the potential alcohol for this would be 6%. And it's an interesting point that the process of keeving is that initial clarification, with your pectin enzyme and trying to separate out the all of the nutrients and all those kind of bits. Not necessarily producing a sweet cider, although keeving does enable you to produce a sweeter cider. It's just that this one has been taken a little bit longer further through its fermentation, and so you gain, the leather and the nutmeg and the tobacco kind of characters. And you're right, Martin. It's quite interesting that compared to, let's say, a Somerset more keeved cider, which does have almost like a full 3D kind of big bold tannins. This is lighter. It's fruity. It's kind of like, it's real hay barn. It's cut grass. It's really, it's just super fresh and kind of frivolous. I think what's really, really crucial, and why I think this is this product and all of the ciders from Templa's are really good, is that you don't get any reduced, you don't get any farty, you don't get any eggy, which is really, really common when you're doing these in bottle fermented, starved nutrient fermentation kind of things. There's every opportunity for it to smell bad, and there is not one hint of an off flavor. It's just all the fruit. Whether you like it or not, it's up to you, but it is a very, very clean, honest expression.
I like that. Grant said it, the positive word there, lean. Like, that's the kind of drink that in my head I think I like more. I'm growing to learn that I actually love sugar like everyone else, and I'm a fool for pretending I don't. But in my head I love those like dry tannic big bolshy bastards. What I like about this is it's not so much like this big kind of staying power tannin holding everything in place. It's more like, and I know we've just had the beer, so I might be in the mindset of that, but there's like a gentle bitterness to it. It's got this real russety texture on the end, but that little crisp note that I'm like, oh, and it's somewhere in between something like a celebratory, really clean, elegant cider and something like it reminds me of bottle conditioned from Burrow Hill. It's got that kind of like big, bold note with carbonation, but then a little bit more on the kind of delicate side as well. So it's like, I just don't know where to place it. I'm really enjoying it.
I think you're right. I think it is a really well made, bottle conditioned farmhouse kind of cider in the best possible way. There is a simplicity to it and a freshness and an unpretentiousness to it that's really, really appealing.
Speaking of unpretentious and appealing, are we going to talk about the label?
Well, yeah. Tell us your opinion.
I love it. Grant was bitching about it.
Grant, he is such a bitch. Isn't
he? I will say, like, a big problem with cider is the dating of itself and its lack of image. And this, to me, harks back to those kind of old school ciders that don't really have their place on bottle shops now anymore. And I don't know if that's like a point to stand out, but again, I wouldn't look at this and think it has the kind of elegance that it's bringing. I don't think the label represents it, and I don't think the people that it wants it to drink it will pick it up because of the label.
Totally, the label, the name, and I've actually had this. I don't think it was the dry that I had, because they have a couple of other bottles available on Scrattings. I think it was a medium, so it's a bit sweeter. But I'd seen it on the website, and I thought I trust everything that Carl and Susan at Scrathings stock. So this, I'm going to buy it and see what it's like. And it's great. And I think you're right, Martin, that somewhere else I might have avoided it because of that. And that, maybe says more about me than the cider, but it doesn't do it justice at all.
Well, what's funny, linking to it, I know you're gonna be doing a shop. You're gonna have a shop as well, but you're a wholesaler, so the image and the presentation is a big thing. Charlie Jones down at Native Vine in Bristol, he pulled a bottle aside and was like to me, "Oh, well, these guys, have you had this yet?" And I was honestly shocked that someone who is into natural wine was like picking this up. And it reminds me of, when you get like a really old, like Italian red, and it's like, you would never put that. We had it in Cups and Craft where it was like a Scarpa, and it looked like an old book for the label. And it's next to all these like hyper, like colored squid squirting ink and stuff. But you're just like, are they really in the same thing? And you're like, in quality terms, yes. But this is someone who is stubborn and won't change their way. And I understand why, because the product might not suit it. But this seems like, again, cider might be different to wine and beer in that, are the ciders we like great because they're presented in a way and they're good and traditional? Or can you make something good and traditional and we would love it in spite of the label and everything?
I really appreciate the point that you're making there, Martin. It's an important consideration for modern and contemporary consumers, whether this cider is aimed at that consumer, whether it needs to, whether they're of the scale that they need to try and sell more and more units. Possibly they are. And, I think it's incumbent upon us to give this kind of feedback, because it is genuinely our thoughts and opinions and insights as people who kind of work into the industry. And you're right, Grant, looking at people who have changed their packaging to or parts of their packaging for particular bits of the market to try and tap into consumers that they wouldn't otherwise be reaching. I think that's a really, really good and really, really positive thing. And Adam and Anne, though, they're lovely people. They've been making cider for here in northern France for 30 odd years. They've got everything kind of down pat. So if we can just feedback some information as to an opportunity for them to get further sales, potentially with a different type of consumer, then we will be feeding that back to them, most definitely. Any final thoughts?
This cider, the staying power now, I'm halfway through the bottle. That bitterness and everything, it's gorgeous. It's really it's changed. It's so
beautiful.
nice.
The cider's so good.
It started off nice. Now it's wonderful. I'm really happy with it.
So there we go. If you want to find out a little bit more about the cider we've just been trying, head to templarscider.co.uk, and you can also purchase it via Scrattings. That's scrattingscraftcidershop.co.uk. Well, that just about wraps up another week here at the Neutral Cider Hotel. Obviously, I'm going to give a final gratuitous plug for you to all watch me on the telly, Country File. That's 6 p.m. Sunday, the 4th of April, Easter Sunday. What better way to spend this glorious holy day by watching BBC? And finally, thank you very much once again to Rachel Hendry for joining us and having a lovely chat. And you can do your bit to support our fantastic podcast and to ensure that we have the best of drinks talent here talking to us. Please do spread the word about our podcast. Tell your friends all about it and encourage them to listen. Also, follow, rate and review us on your favorite podcast app. It really does help. You can also check us out on social media. We are Neutral Cider Hotel on Insta and Facebook, Neutral Cider Pod on Twitter. And as always, visit our website, listen online, or share episodes at www.neutralciderhotel.com. .cam? No,
turn the cams off.
.com.
Yeah. No. .cam. That's CAM because Gabe loves spelling it out at .cam. Anyway.
You're right. Lastly, please Please, please, please. I don't think that you, our listeners, have taken the opportunity enough. You can leave us an actual voice message, and you can be nice to us. You can be rude to us. You can ask us an interesting question. You can ask us a most spurious, even non-cider related question. But do ask us a question. Head to speakpipe.com/neutral cider hotel. We really, really want to get your answer phones. For some reason, I want to play Hotline Bling by Drake right now. I'm not quite sure.
Threatening than I think you meant it. That just sounded like you're just stealing people's voicemails. We really want your answer phones.
Give us your messages, please.
Piers Morgan's out of a job, so
let's not get him as a co-host. God, blimey, that'll be a bit hard work. Right, everybody, cheers to you. Until next time, Grant, Martin, producer Scott, lots of love. See you next time. Cheers.
bye.
What's that?